Yo, this is Josh from the Nomad Yoga family, and in this video I'm going to give you the exterior tour of our home and our truck, the Earthroamer number 28. We've been living in this thing for over 1 year of time, and I'll also give you some of the details of the systems that we have in the truck and why we either love or don't like them so much. Alright, check it out. So, Earthroamer number 28, I think there's maybe 200 of them made now. It's kind of fun. This one's 10 years old, well 11 years old I guess now, March 2006. And the external of the truck is pretty sweet. The first thing is the actual body itself is a one-piece composite body, so there are no joints at all. It's a lot more marine built, everything that's on this vehicle, and we love that construction idea because most of the RV industry stuff out there is just a little bit weak if you plan on driving off-road frequently, which we do. Even in Latin America, when we're on a main road, at any point in time it could turn to shit. So it's nice to have something that we know is built to handle a little bit more rugged routine. Along the side we have the exhaust for our diesel cooktop, which we'll show you on the interior tour. You can actually link to that video by clicking down below here. This is where we fill our fresh water tank. So we just fill up the freshwater tank here. It is an internal freshwater tank, which is nice for the cold weather. We're from Canada, and when we left, it was in February, it was minus 45 Celsius for the first month when we were driving around. So it was important that we didn't have a lot of freeze up. There is some water protection as well, but it's a 90-gallon tank, or 340 liters. So the other thing that's nice, we're a family of 4, we need to be able to carry quite a bit of water, and especially, you know, in Baja recently, water was harder to find, and we would go weeks outside of anywhere that would have good clean water to get for ourselves. So carrying a lot was key. Adds a lot of weight, but we find honestly that with this chassis, even when we're full up with all of the water, fuel, everything, it doesn't really cost us any more in fuel. So the efficiency of this truck for its weight is in pretty good balance, I would say. Of course, we have the crew cab. This was a fundamental piece that we were looking for as a family because any of the other ones that just had the front seats or the little seats in the back either wouldn't fit the car seats, and we're just not comfortable with the kids being in the back without having like a real proper bolted down seat and their car seat strapped in properly, because we don't want to have their safety at risk, and we want to be able to have the confidence to go wherever we want at the same time. So it was nice to have this. One of the things we added is we blacked the windows out. Even looking right up to the window, you can't see in the back. So it just adds a little bit of security, especially when we're parked somewhere at nighttime. Out of sight, out of mind is the idea. So one of the questions we get from more of the standard RV crowd is, can we get from the truck into the camper and back? And you can, which was another feature that we really wanted to have. Which for us, overland traveling for such a long time and living in this, the biggest thing for me is safety. We want to be able to, in the middle of the night, if we want to, get in, start it up, and just drive away. So we always make sure we're parked in a, parked, oriented in a way that we can do that. But then also, just the ability to do that is of course important. So having a truck with camper really can be problematic in my mind that way. But when we're talking off-road, you also run the risk of things that are hard mounted. You can see it's not connected up top here, and it's actually not connected here either. Anytime you have the hard mount, you run the risk of theoretically actually putting too much stress and putting stress fractures on the chassis itself, because that flexibility of the steel is eliminated, or at least reduced from what the original design was. So what Earthroamer's done, and a lot of overland vehicles like this have now copied, I think, is this is actually a rubber seal, just neoprene covering it here. And the way that this is mounted to the body, it's got 2 front mounts, and then in the back is a gigantic bushing. So it's a 3-point connection system, and it actually can pivot as the truck drives over off-road. We have an awesome video of us going through Beardo Canyon. You can find the link to that just down below here, and kind of see how the truck is able to flex through all of the big rocks that we go over in that case. Pretty awesome stuff. Of course, there's the standard Earthroamer custom decals they put on. Tires are a big question that we get about. So these ones are a 295/60R 22.5. And there's actually a spacer behind here that puts out the standard 10-bolt design. It is an F450, so it is already a 10-bolt design, but it's usually the small bolt. The spacer switches it to the large bolt and also moves the tire out, which does two things we love. One, it changes the turning radius with the turn knuckle that's in there. So this thing can actually turn as good as our Volvo could turn before. We were totally baffled. Maybe not quite as good because of the overall length, but like really close. So that was pretty sweet. The other thing is, when it pushes this tire out, it actually lines it up with the rear tire so that sand and soft ground driving, we're tracking the same line, which is of course very important. And then the big thing for us that I love the most is that this is a semi-truck tire. So it's big and wide and has a ton of traction, but it's also like a 16 or an 18 ply tire. So we've driven over some stuff that, you know, would probably flat out a lot of other vehicles if they were carrying the same amount of weight, and these just have no problem at all. We're running pretty high PSI is one of the differences though. So we're running about a 70 up front. Earthroamer recommends a 90, 95 in the back. We run ours higher, more around 100, 110, which we found was better when we switched to this tire because it's a new model of the old tire that fits on these vehicles. The disadvantage is that these were a really hard tire to find in Canada. It took us a long time to find the replacements because we did put new tires on it when we got it. The Aluminess bumper up front, just nice as a brush bar to get us through whatever we're driving through. As you can see, it's been dinged up. We did cut a slot out because we wanted to fit the winch up front, which we added on ourselves. It's a 15,500 pound winch, which we've used to pull ourselves out maybe a couple of feet once or twice. But the truth is we've used this to pull out about 20 other people. So it's kind of like the nice guy piece to add onto a truck like this because yeah, you get to help other people out. That's the community that this is. One of the nice things about the winch though is peace of mind. We're so heavy that if we do get stuck somewhere, we were stuck on sand recently, and if we didn't have the traction boards and the winch to grab onto something, we wouldn't have got out, and no one else can pull you out because they're like little Jeeps in these areas. So you want to have self-recovery stuff set up for sure. This is not the standard Earthroamer light, but it has the rigid LED light bar. This thing's great. I mean, it's like daylight when we have it on. Honestly, with the kids, we don't do a lot of night driving. One of our concepts for small living is we want to travel 3 to 4 hours a day maximum, and just for our sanity being in the vehicle with the little ones. And then also we make a rule 4 o'clock. If we haven't stopped, we find the next available place to camp, and that's it, the day is over. So for safety, but also just for our comfort level, it keeps our happiness factor way higher. Rigid LED yellow lights, so the fog lights. Driving through Northern California early in the year, these were endlessly helpful because we were constantly in fog. So when we first got the truck, these came with it. I didn't actually think that we would use them, but I love them now. And kind of a neat thing inside underneath here is a connection for our onboard air compressor. So we can connect underneath here. There's one at the back of the truck as well, so that we're able to actually deflate and inflate the tires, or with kids RV living, honestly, blow up toys. We've been talking about a blow up kayak or a blow up paddleboard as well, so that would, you know, enhance that ability. So this thing's powered by the Powerstroke V8 turbo diesel 2006. Again, it's a model year from Ford. And that was one of the reluctant points that we had buying this vehicle, because this engine for these couple of years was a little bit notorious with some issues. This one has had absolutely no issues at all. It's been so awesome. We just love it. It has been bulletproof from Bulletproof Diesel. I highly recommend checking those guys out just for any of your Ford diesel stuff now. But again, with the 450, you've got the dual battery system, dual alternator system, so we're drawing lots of amps there when we're driving. And it actually has a high idle switch as well, so we can just turn the truck on, flip the high idle, and use the truck engine to charge the house battery or to power things in the back. Especially in cold weather, that can be helpful for a little while. And that also completely eliminates the necessity for us having, what's it called? What are those things called you other guys carry? A generator. Yeah, we have no generator on board. So it's either solar electric or the actual truck engine itself. We really don't need to do that though. We're, you know, always driving within a day or two, so we have enough amp hours of battery that we can not really worry about it. Yeah, good engine. And then the other thing under the front end, way down below, Earthroamer upgrades a lot of the crossbars and other pieces of the vehicle, so the sway bar up front is just burly and tough, and I don't know, this thing handles incredibly well considering how heavy it is. We haven't weighed it. I'm not exactly sure how much it weighs, but like a lot. I'll get back to you on that. I'll comment down below what it was. And then off-road suspension added in as well. So it's the King remote reservoir off-road shocks that are in here. So not standard, but again, just incredible handling. Even if we're not talking about off-road driving with this thing, the combination of the suspension and these tires with this weight, we can be driving at 70 miles an hour and I'm not paying enough attention and we have to go around a corner hard, and it just does it without it feeling super sketchy. We don't lose any traction. It doesn't sway way over to the side, any of these things. So it makes a big difference just for our general driving comfort as well. And that's another point about this tire versus the MPT 81 military tire that are on a lot of them. Those tires have a speed limit. These ones go a lot higher speed limit. So because we are sometimes trying to get from point A to point B fast, it's nice to know that we can jump on a toll road and put the pedal down, and these things handle really well at that sort of driving style. So now, of course, it is an RV, so although it's set up to be completely off-grid and we can do that, it does also have all the standard connections if you want to go to an RV park like we're at right now, which can be really relaxing. In fact, the vacation for us is when we go to an RV park, actually pay to stay, plug in, plug the water in, can run our AC unit for a day if we want to get out of the heat, whatever it is. So being able to plug in is really nice. 2 diesel tanks. Front tank is your standard running tank, 50 gallons or 189 liters, and then they add in the 40 gallon, 151 liter tank in the back. So the 90 gallons gives us a pretty good range. If we were just driving these two, I don't know, we could probably do 1,000 kilometers at least if we needed to. That would be pushing it a little bit. One of the things that we'll talk about on the inside of the truck is the appliances that aren't electric run off diesel, and they draw from the back diesel tank. One of the issues we did have is we didn't put anti-gel when we were in northern Arizona earlier in the year, and we were in Flagstaff and it started freezing and we gelled up, so that took us a little bit of maneuvering and cleaning filters and changing lines and whatever, but other than that, I mean, diesel's simple and works and is efficient, so it's definitely a nice system to utilize. Underneath here are 2 of our batteries that we have hanging, so this drops down if you unscrew it from underneath, and they're 235 amp hour AGM batteries, and we have 3 of them on board. So that's the standard power system. Usually that's what we're running everything off of and not plugging into things. And we've got a good solar array as well on the roof, which we'll show you a clip of. There's essentially 6 solar panels. We're drawing around 900 watts. And the beauty of that is that we can go, if it's sunny like it is now, indefinitely without needing to be plugged in somewhere. One of the systems that ties into that, of course, is that when we're running the truck, it's also charging the house batteries. But there's an isolation system, so when we're not running the truck, you don't run the risk of draining the batteries up front for starting the vehicle. But you can combine them if you want to do things like winching, or also if you need to boost the truck batteries because you've killed them accidentally. So it's kind of a cool electrical system between the actual chassis and the camper itself. The dualies. So normally we'd have 2 tires. You can see the large amount of space back here. It is still a leaf suspension in the back on this one. Some Earthroamers have an air suspension system. We do not. But this is not the standard leaf suspension. As you can see, there's a significant number of added leaves in there. So same thing, just uprooted, and there's the off-road shocks behind them. You just can't really see them from here anyways. But again, no dually, so you need the larger tire to carry the weight, but it tracks a lot better, way easier to drive. Don't have to worry about the rocks getting caught in between. Less to deal with. Less tires to change as well if you do flat out somewhere. And here's the nasty part that lots of people often don't want to talk about, but sometimes the reason why we chose a vehicle like this was less for like the specialty off-road ability and more for just the actual practical aspect of things. If you look at European RVs, like they're not using this disgusting hose that's got stuff stuck in it and impossible to clean, and then you run the gray water. Like it's too complicated and too gross in my mind. So this is our black water system. It's a cassette. Toilet's inside. When you want to empty it, pull out this nice little suitcase, unscrew, and empty into whatever source you want. So this has been a savior for us because when we can't find a free dump spot and we don't want to pay, you can actually empty it into any toilet. Worst case scenario, if you were really off-grid wild camping, you can take this and go somewhere and dig a really deep hole to empty it as well. So yeah, a huge feature that we love about the Earthroamer as well is the storage. So where we've sacrificed not having a slide out or a pop top or some of these other features that can be nice in a standard RV in terms of the comfort of feeling like you have open space, we have tons of storage instead. So the back, we added the box on here. It's just a custom built box. It's a pretty simple one. Earthroamer builds custom boxes, which would have been our preference, but we didn't get a chance to take this thing to Colorado before we left. So we just connected it on two sides into our hitches. So you've got the triple hitch on the back end here. You also have the extra connection here for the air compressor. This is the water inlet. We've got 12-volt power, of course the trailer connection, and then AC power as well. So if you need to be doing some work off the back, you're running power tools, you can flip some switches inside to turn this stuff on, and you're good to go. And then additional, we also have storage in the cabinet back here. It's about the same depth as the full-size spare tire. So as deep as the spare tire is, that's how deep the cabinet is, and it wraps up and around the spare tire underneath on both sides and over the top as well, which is really nice because there's always little trinkets that you can sort of tuck into places that you don't need that often. So we can shove them up there and forget about them until we take them out, and it's like Christmas. We added the bike rack in as well. So it did come with the hitch in the center here. This is a North Shore bike rack, which we liked because of the way the bikes are connected. They're really attached in a stable way. And then we can also, you know, we've got the bike rack locked to the hitch, and then we have the bikes locked to the rack, and then the bikes locked to each other. So, and they're up high, and to take them off, you have to pull them straight up in the air instead of sliding them or anything else. So, safety factor wise, we had one guy come and cut one of the cable locks, and that's as far as it got because, and we didn't even come back. It was just that I think he realized to actually get a bike down would require sawing through 3 other locks and climbing up and figuring out how to undo them from the rack, which is not a standard rack. So it's a huge deterrent. Of course, if someone wants your bike, they're probably going to get it, but it's kind of awesome that way. So, and the last storage on the outside is that we actually have a trunk in here as well. So everything from here down in the back, this is my tool chest. It's again the same depth as the spare tire. This just pulls a pin and slides out, and then we can open that up to access that as well. So lots of external storage. Actually, too much external storage. We should probably purge some stuff. I hope this is a good external tour of Earthroamer number 28. I'm Josh from the Nomad Yoga family. It was awesome having you here. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel because we have more videos like this coming out all the time. We'd love to hear any feedback from you guys, or if you have ideas about what we should be filming on our journey as we're going to continue going south, even down into South America eventually. Go down below, leave your comments there for us, and please like this video, share it with any of your friends, of course. Talk to you next time. Peace.